Hey, 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 this is Charlotte.
And I'm Daryl.
And we are here again with another episode of Truth for Daily Living. So we want to say welcome, welcome, welcome to the truth. All right, so we have another set of guests. There are a couple as well. So we're going to get started with them right away so we can jump right into it right after this, okay? Stay tuned. All right, we're going to bring them on up to the stage. All right, we're bringing them up. We have Chris and Mical Baez. How are you two?
How you guys doing?
We're good. We're good.
Yes,
We're glad you decided to join our podcast, Truth for Daily Living. We are grateful for this opportunity. And today, the topic we're going to be talking about is the importance of partner support, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think they have something, a story to tell about partner support. Would you say?
No doubt.
Yes. Okay. So what we want to do is first introduce yourself officially to those who may be watching. Just tell us either, I would say, your profession, your number. Start with how many years you've been married, your profession, and the number of children you have. How about that? Anyone can answer.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we are nearing our 4th year anniversary this coming September 1st. And so our profession, thank you. Our profession is I am a nutrition coach. We are co-owners of Iron Sharpens Iron Fitness, and he is an online fitness trainer and also a certified life and leadership coach.
Great. Awesome. So how did you guys meet?
I'm sorry. 1 2-year-old. We have 1 2.5-year-old daughter in the other room. We may jump in and
out. Okay. So how did you two meet? We're just curious.
Oh, that's a fun story. Yeah, so I'm going to shorten it by saying the first day she met me, she threw up.
Yeah, just elaborate. Throw it out there.
Yeah.
So I joined a fitness ministry gym here in Tampa, Florida, and he became my personal trainer. And as he said, the first day he trained me, I literally puked. And I guess that was a sign that I fell in love. It was puke at first sight.
That is funny. Okay. So from that moment on, it was
trainer, and
the rest is history.
The rest is history. Okay.
Well, that's a very unique story, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're not going to get into how we met because it'll be probably a long story, but it was kind of quirky too. We'll do that for another podcast. Yeah. So you have one daughter, right? 2.5. Before I jump to your daughter, did you guys, because we are marriage coaches, counselors, and so
it's beautiful.
Oh, there she is.
Look at her.
Ooh. So did you guys?
She just happened to come Friday.
Hi, sweetie.
Hello.
Hi. Did you participate in premarital counseling?
Yes. So actually, that was kind of the first thing we jumped right into when we started dating. We were both in a season of fasting, and we went to break our fast simultaneously, and this wasn't planned. But within the first 3 weeks of knowing each other, we ended up in a church next to each other. Again, not planned. Her friends ditched her. She ended up at my church. And, Holy Spirit says, this is your wife. This is your husband. And from there, I got the blessing from my boss at the time to date a client. First time I break that rule. And we jumped straight into premarital counseling with him about 2 weeks into dating. So we did 4 months of premarital counseling with him. And then we did an additional 3 months of premarital counseling
with the pastor from your church.
Yeah. So he wasn't the pastor from the church. He was my boss, but we just covered both ends because he was actually a pastoral clinical counselor as well.
Mm-hmm. So we went through counseling, and when he Yeah, when he first told me that he wanted to be my husband, he said, we will go through premarital counseling immediately. So I knew right off the bat that I was going to jump right in.
That's good. As you know, we're advocates for premarital counseling, being marriage counselors ourselves. We think it's so important to deal with what you can, at the beginning. I mean, nothing's perfect, but at least if you deal with the major stuff, if there is any, that kind of puts you on a good path. So our audience, make sure you go to enrichmymarriage.com if you need that. But we think it's just so important. What were you going to say, honey?
Yes, absolutely. Marriage is not for just grown folk, but it is for mature grown folk as well, right? And so that was very mature for you guys and for you basically to make that determination that, listen, if we go on, if this is my wife, then of course you've made that initial plan to have premarital counseling. Not only did you have premarital counseling, you did it for 7 months prior to scheduling a date. So a lot of people, they schedule a date first and then they do the counseling. And then the counseling gets in the way of the actual marriage date. You know what I'm saying?
You're laughing because it's true.
So you guys did it. You did it right.
That's
you
good.
You did it right. And you did it. I mean, you did it so maturely. And taking the responsibility that this is serious business. Okay.
Yeah. And for us, I'll just plug this part is that we met, we dated, we got engaged, and we had 3 sets of marriage counselors and married within 10 months. Now, that's not everybody's story, but that's how it was. But we had 3 sets of counselors, during that time because it was a serious thing for us because we're in, we had been married before in our case. And so we wanted to make sure, this is it. This is till the end. And I'm so glad we did it that way. So I commend you, as he says, for doing that. Now, one of the topics we want to talk about while we have you here is that you had that precious little beautiful baby girl, right? And what happened, sometimes for us as women, we go through, and I experienced some of this, we go through a season after birth. So you're pregnant for 9 months. It's this big hoorah if you're not sick, and you're just dealing with all these hormones and emotions. And we forgot to say she is a medical doctor. Please don't you got to include that. Don't discount that. I mean, everybody can't pass that test, okay? Go through medical school and pass that test. But women go through so much, physically. So what happened with you after you had your precious baby girl?
So after I had delivered, it was a traumatic 40-hour birth. I went through a C-section. She was going through fetal distress. And after I delivered her, I didn't feel like she was my baby. Every time I held her, I looked at her and I thought, is she really mine? And it just didn't click. So I went through a lot of postpartum depression. And a lot of times people say, it's just baby blues, you'll get over it. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for me. After 3 months, I had attempted suicide, and I took the pills that was given to me from my doctor, and I overdosed in front of my husband and my daughter. I took the last bottle of 60 pills, in fact, in front of my daughter, and I held her hand and I said goodbye. And that was the moment that was the deepest, darkest moment of my life, but it was also when the Lord had restored me. So postpartum depression, I didn't think was real, but unfortunately, I realized it was.
And even from a medical perspective, being a doctor, is that the reason why you didn't think it was real? Because you're like, oh, I understand how the body works. I mean, what was the reasoning? Why didn't you think it was real?
Well, a lot of times when you go through it, it's just basically watered down. People will say most women go through it, but then they get better. And it usually takes, a few weeks for your body to recover. But it just wasn't working that way for me. And it wasn't something that was truly a reality because a lot of my friends, they looked fine. A lot of my friends had their kids before me and they didn't have any complaints. They all said they felt that connection immediately. It was love at first sight. So here I am feeling like, why isn't it happening for me? So the medical side of it, I will say, they don't prepare you. We really didn't prepare that part, the reality.
Well, I think too, what was uncovered a lot in our premarital counseling was a lot of the post-traumatic stress she had already from her past. And of course, that will carry on, especially if you go through an event like this. It only, it makes it a higher priority that you seek the help because you have a bigger predisposition for something like that. So that was uncovered in our premarital counseling, and it was something that I kind of knew coming in that there are some things that I'm gonna have challenges with her with, and I was just glad that I knew so I could prepare ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. So you actually did know, you saw a difference?
I did see a difference in demeanor and just it's very trying because I'm also trying to help her as much as I could and take the brunt of everything else so she could bond with our daughter. But a lot of that wasn't happening initially, and even I mean, through that time, she was already going through counseling for her past, and it was just kind of a perfect storm. There was kind of no way to avoid it. I was just glad I was there because I was able to drive her to the hospital immediately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah, that is amazing.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I was going through counseling already because I had a traumatic childhood growing up. And so our premarital counselor told us that I should go through counseling for that reason. And so it was preparing.
Together. Yeah. So that wasn't even premarital counseling. We were already married and she had a counselor for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So what steps did you take to actually recover from the depression? And then also, is there a battle today that you have to contend with?
That's a good question. So what I had to go through was I did take medication for it. I knew that was necessary.
Well, before that, you were Baker acted.
I was Baker acted. I was sent to the mental health facility. So I stayed there for 72 hours to get the help that I needed.
And that actually, she said she slept for and that was like the first time she had 10 hours of undisturbed sleep, so she came back and she was like in a much better position. It's amazing what sleep will do, because you think of a mother who's distressed with an infant and you don't get a whole lot of sleep and you add on the other circumstances.
I didn't have the ability to tell anyone what I was truly feeling. I just felt like I needed to be super mom. So I was hospitalized. I got the medication that I needed, but I continued therapy. And I also worked on my nutrition and I exercised because I went from 112 pounds to almost 200 pounds at being 4'11". So my health was also at risk, not just mental health. So I took those necessary steps to work on me. And he was such a good support in allowing me to have the time on my own. He would always encourage me to go and work out and do what I needed to do for me. So I think the partnership, as what we're talking about, is so crucial, especially when you're going through a tough time like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can remember when I had my baby. So what happened for me that was traumatic, my mom had just died several months prior. Well, I was just say a year prior to me even getting pregnant. So it was a hard place for me once I had my baby because I didn't have my mom. And so I remember, being very sad. So for me, it was a difficult place. And then not getting sleep. That's the norm, right? I was in labor for 41 hours with my daughter, first of all. Then secondly, my mom is gone. And then I'm not getting a lot of sleep because he had already taken off so much time from work like a week prior and then a few weeks after. So then I was pretty much on my own because everybody else I knew were working jobs. So no one could really help, as you know. So as a mom, when you don't have anybody that doesn't have enough sleep is already like in a very vulnerable place. But for me, I was breastfeeding. I was exhausted. I was so sad that my mom wasn't there. So I can only imagine, like you said, coupled with what happened in your childhood and now, isn't that interesting how your childhood truly follows you? Would you agree?
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, the sins of the father are visited onto the son, and we inherit a lot of stuff unintentionally. But that's the fallen world we live in. So when we recognize it, it's we have a responsibility to do something about it.
Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, hon? Did you notice anything like when after I had your daughter? You noticed something too?
The first 2 weeks, basically, I was in the house and I was preparing, food, cooking for three meals a day, right? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I was there allowing her to sleep as well because it's very important, right? And so, and when I went to work for the first day back to work after that, a couple of weeks of being home, she was so saddened. I noticed the sadness. It was like, do you really have to go? And so during that time, once I got home, because of the fact that sleep was not, she wasn't getting much sleep. So I get home, she said, here, can you watch the baby for a couple of hours for me? And I will watch the baby, and take care of her. And 4 hours later, I will wake up and she says, only been asleep for an hour. No, it's been 4 hours. Okay, because of the fact that, and the thing about it that she didn't take time out to sleep when the baby was sleeping. That was something that she had to learn on the latter end of the process, because the fact that when the baby is sleeping, then the mama should be sleeping too. Okay, as opposed to being up trying to do some of the things.
Go ahead.
That was a big thing too, because she felt a lot of pressure that she had to perform for Mariah and like try to do whatever she could for the household as well. So she felt like super mom, and the doctors had to tell her like, no, you have to sleep when the baby sleeps. Like this is doctor's orders.
Yes. I mean, it's real. Yeah. I mean, we aren't super women.
Right.
I know a lot of times, a lot of women I've met, we are like, even though they say it's not real, multitaskers, and we think we're really not multitaskers. We're doing several things at the same time, but it's not necessarily accomplishing much. But it just feels like because we kind of can think about a lot of things at the same time, whereas sometimes men are just kind of like black and white. They're just like, this is what I'm doing, there's tunnel vision. And so I'll speak for me. I don't know about you. That's where part of that came from, just still trying to do whatever I could, still trying to be a new mom, still trying to, like you said, keep the house in order, still trying to do things that I really shouldn't have been trying to do on my own alone. What do you think?
Me or Mical?
So I remember when I was just getting out of the hospital, we were in our little 500 square foot apartment at the time. And I would carry her with me and I would try to do the laundry, try to do the dishes, try to clean, try to get everything done because I felt the responsibility.
We were also running our business at the same time.
And we were running our business at the same time. And
wow.
We had just...
This was during the pandemic.
Yeah, this was during the pandemic. So we had just, I think we were really like 100% full force in the business. And I'm trying to keep everything together. I didn't know how to stop. And coming from my background as a medical doctor, you go, you don't stop, you keep going. If someone is sick, I don't take care of myself. I take care of the other individual. So that was my mindset. But I will attest to the fact that sleep was very important because the first night, truly the first night of being in the hospital, the mental health hospital, I remember telling the doctor that saw me the very next day, I said, I feel like a whole new individual because I actually got sleep. But I will say that going back to the partnership thing, it's a huge difference between an individual like me and having a husband that was so supportive and someone who is suffering from postpartum depression and they don't have a partner, a spouse to help them during this time.
Yeah, I think that is definitely an important point. You have to have support. I mean, I think people don't realize that having a baby is like almost a life-threatening thing in the sense, because you're birthing a whole nother human being into the world and all the weight that comes with that, physically and mentally and emotionally. It is a lot. And I think sometimes people coast over it. I mean, I have friends that have lots of children. Like I have one of my best girlfriends. She has 10 kids and she just breezed. I mean, when I say 10, I mean 10. Only one set of twins. And she has natural birth. She has a high pain tolerance. So it was like almost easy breathing for her. But for some of us, only have the one, it was not quite as easy. I guess, like I said, it depends on what you've experienced, what you're going through at the moment. That makes a difference. But I think the point is we want to make that postpartum depression is real. It's not just, women being silly willy, being over, dramatic. We're not being dramatic. And I think it's important, like you said, to have the support system, even if you don't have a husband. There are cases, of course, where people have children, don't have but when you have a husband, it's so important and grateful. I know you are to your husband, me to mine, that they recognize the changes and they do the best to help us, right?
And it's important, just like Chris, basically, you were a great support to your wife. And going through those difficult seasons in time, how important was it for you to be there, even though that you probably didn't understand the extent or the totality of the actual depression, but you were there, okay? And you placed yourself as a support, and you wanted to be there for your wife, and you also wanted to see her pull through, that depression. And even though that she was trying to give up on herself, you would not allow her to give up on herself, and you did not give up on her as well. So how was that transition for you, and being there and also helping her, go from a level of depression to a place that, wow, I feel like I can live again?
Well, I couldn't do it on my own, for sure. For number one, of course, I leaned on my relationship with God, and God led me through a lot of tears and a lot of nights of not knowing if I was going to have a wife or what that was going to look like after this incident in particular. But he also put a lot of good men in my life that were able to support me when I needed support. Right away, my pastor was available, to me. The day I told him about it, there's several men in my church that are older, in their 70s, that they immediately took me in and just kind of helped guide me through this as well. And I can't underscore how important that was and how valuable that is.
Absolutely. And that's important. You're talking about a support system as well, right? Support system basically extends throughout the entire family, because everyone in the family needs some type of support, whether it's in the house or whether it's outside of the house, and that's important that you had men in your life that was able to undergird you and help you and to navigate you through this process as well. So there's nothing to take lightly. And then also you're talking about your relationship with the Father, the Heavenly Father, right? And so a lot of times there's many things that we cannot do without him. And so it's important for us to recognize the strength. When we come to the end of our strength, I know there's a scripture that says, let the weak say that I'm strong. And then also it says, let the strong bear the infirmities of the weak as well, right? And so therefore you have someone else to help bear your infirmities during that season and time. And so those are aha moments right there, saying, wow, if this person hadn't been in my life, how would I have transitioned? How would I have made it through? Or, what can I do? What have I learned from that process? And then how can you help someone else to navigate through that process as well? Because you have experienced a traumatic and also in a very emotional, experience with you and with your wife. But and then for you, Mical, so you really gave yourself an opportunity to live again, right? And so, how was that? And then how how did you view Chris during that time when you was trying to give up and he was trying to console you? Was there like an inner war or battle that you were saying, don't, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead, answer that if you could.
So I had to make the decision to really get up. I think the part where I really decided to get up was one, when I was in the hospital, when I was rolled into the ER, into the emergency room, and I screamed at the doctor and I said, I don't want to die. And then I think God made a way for me to draw closer to him at that moment. And he allowed me to see my husband in a different perspective, because I knew he was mad at me. He was mad because I did it, and I knew that there was a gap between the two of us, because you can tell, like, I made a horrible mistake and I was going to change his life without him even wanting it. And I remember I called him up and I said, "Hey, I'm okay. Are you able to come to the hospital?" And he said, "I'll be there. I'm talking to your parents right now." He's the one that had to break the news to my parents. And he said, "I'll be there after I talk to your parents." And they let him in the hospital, and they allowed me and him to talk before I got sent over to the mental hospital. And I knew at that moment, I said, he's still very supportive. He goes, "I want you to be healthy. I want you to get better. Know that I'm here for you, but I want you to focus on your health." And I remember feeling the sorrow, feeling the sadness that I knew I committed, one, a sin against God, and two, I committed a sin against my husband. And we needed to restore that connection between the two of us. Because even though he didn't force me to make any decision like that, I decided. It was a conscious effort to do that. But I knew that I broke the trust that I had with my husband at that time. So to answer your question, I knew that my husband was faithful. And then I saw him after I got out of the hospital. It was a beautiful moment, because you're stuck in this mental hospital with flat white walls, and you don't have any ability to go out or anything. You're stuck, and you don't even know when you actually can be seen again by your family, because they monitor you all the time. And if one little tweak in their mind and they say, "Oh no, she's not able to go out yet, she's not good," they'll hold you. But praise God that I was healing, and the doctor saw that I was on the path of being recovered. So he allowed me to go. So when I finally saw my husband, and he waited for me there and picked me up, and he gave me the biggest hug, and he said, "I'm glad that you're better. Let's continue on." And he was just so much support. He had to take the steps forward. We started going through counseling again, and our counselor, we kept going through it. Our counselor said, "Chris, this is the things that you need to do." They locked up all of the medication that I had, so it was controlled. They took a lot of the measures to make sure I was safe. I wasn't alone. Chris made sure that I had great support from other godly women. He made sure that I had sleep. He made sure that I took my medicine. I just knew that I had a blessing that I didn't want to take it for granted.
Yeah. And one thing I just want to point out too was kind of in the midst of this, as I drove her to the hospital, I'm driving back home to go talk to her parents. I called her clinical psychologist, and I asked, because I told her what happened, and I asked, like, how do I address this? And she told me exactly that, to be supportive, but you have to make sure you lay down a boundary. You have to make sure you lay down a line. So I was as supportive as I could be in the hospital, but I also told her, this has to be it. This cannot happen again. For our daughter, I have to protect her, and this is the line. So if you cross this line again, for her safety, we're going to have to, live apart from you. And that was hard to say, but it was something that needed to be said. And I took a hard conversation to have.
And I took it. Mm-hmm. And I realized that he was true to whatever he was saying, and I needed to hear it. It was like taking another medicine from my own consequence, from my own actions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you had, I was going to say, if you had one a tip or advice to give a woman who may be right now in the throes of this, what could you say? I would like one thing from each one. So from your woman's perspective and then from a husband, what could that be, that one thing you would tell them?
For me, if you are going through this, and if you are a Christian and you have a supportive, loving church, is one, ask for prayer. If you are feeling alone, ask for a woman that is at church that can pray for you and walk through this season with you. If you have family members that you can be open to, then have them walk through this season with you. I would say, don't forget about your faith. Don't forget about your relationship with the Lord, because that was crucial, a huge key in my recovery. But I would definitely say, don't feel like, and this is why I said I feel like it's not reality, that it's not real. It's because in my mind, I'm thinking, it's just going to get better. It's okay. And then I'm going to continue to work like a train just to keep going. No, that's not how it goes. You need to take a break. You do need to get sleep. And it's funny because that is the biggest key, is really rest in God and finding physical rest. So, and if you are married, be open about that with your husband and tell them how you really feel, and tell them what you need. Don't be afraid to ask.
And I think on my end, definitely asking God to humble your heart enough to talk to someone and be able to put a plan in place. We had to put a plan in place of like, who were some of the safe people that she could call when she felt like she needed to talk to somebody. We had to, put a plan in place we both had to get an app that, monitors her, and it tells me exactly where she's at in case I couldn't find her. We had to put these little contingencies in place, and we both had to accept them, and realize this was the current situation, but let's just have this and not need it, rather than, need it, not have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I got two questions. Okay, that's pretty awesome the way, and pretty amazing the way you actually came through this process here. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you said, Mical, is that you broke Chris's trust as well. And if you can touch on that a little bit, of how you were able to regain his trust, and then also, Chris, how you were able to respond to her wanting to rebuild the trust as well. And then the last question for me would be, then how do you manage your marriage and your business simultaneously?
Yeah, we're going to get to that business. Okay, but yeah.
Well, go ahead. If you can answer a trust question for me, it'd be great. And also for the listeners as well, because I think
trust.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
For the trust, I knew, we sleep in the same bed. It was hard to just touch him and know that the affection is not as unique or as genuine as it was before, because it was cold. It was hard. And then I know that I broke his trust because I felt like I lied, even though I didn't lie, but it was like, I felt like I did. It's because I think this is it. It just came to my mind. It's because our vows were till death do us part, but not because I wanted it. It's only when God says that it's time. And I think that's why it felt so hard to go through that. And I'm getting goosebumps because I think that's it. I made a vow unto God when our marriage occurred, I said I wanted to honor God in our marriage. And I wasn't honoring God, and I wasn't honoring and respecting my husband. So that's why I knew I broke the trust. But how did I gain that trust?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I followed what he had requested. He wanted those hardline boundaries. He wanted us to take care of my daughter. That every time there was a thought, I had to think of my daughter. That it's selfish if I keep thinking about myself. I needed to think about my daughter's future. And then we had counseling. That was the other thing. The constant monitoring. And unfortunately, that's what was necessary. I needed to be monitored. And in our church, our pastor would always check up on us, and we were willing to be open and vulnerable to people that God said in our life. And that allowed us to work through. However, and I'll say this as to why I truly feel like our connection, our trust was rebuilt, is because we were able to communicate, and we were able to really talk through those things and get through the hard, tough conversations and find ourselves together, being able to pray together, and then being able to read the Bible. That was it. Like, we started to really read the Bible together a lot. People from our church, we started going through the Bible together, and I can't tell you how much that has helped. We would go through scripture. Yeah, our small group. So those were ways that God had used to build us together.
That's good. I'm so glad you mentioning that. Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just gonna say, for the trust side, for me, it's kind of simple. I'm flawed, and I'm, in so many ways. So I'm capable of mistakes just like anyone else is. And if I believe what I believe, and that's Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior, I mean, number one thing he says is to forgive. So why not for the person that I've chosen to be with for the rest of my life? She can make a mistake. If I can forgive someone else like that I work with for making a mistake, how come I can't forgive the person that I'm closest with?
That's good.
Yeah, but did you have to work through it though? So it had to be, if she felt a coldness, okay, and a sort of like a separation, then how did you work through that? And then at what point did you forgive her? And then what point did you forgive yourself for responding the way you did?
That's a good question.
I forgave her pretty quickly. The trust was the slower build, but the forgiveness I knew was a biblical mandate. But I did know that I could take my time with building that trust back up. So that was the thing that took the longer time, where she felt the coldness. But forgiveness was almost immediate.
Gotcha. Well, we want to commend you. I mean, if no one else has, we want to commend you on taking such a mature, perspective, because you're in a younger category than us. And it's very rare to find people, younger people, in your age range, that think the way you do. I mean, seriously, I'm sure
value and principles.
I'm sure you've seen those types of people where they're
just
the
military helps. I'm an Air Force veteran. So the military
being a veteran, that does help. But we commend you. So before we try to, because I don't want to hold you under your baby, this is such a great conversation, and we again hope this truly reaches the people it needs to reach, as far as if you are a woman suffering with postpartum depression, know that it is real, know that you can get help, and don't believe what you hear, your body can lie to you sometimes, your thoughts can lie to you. You got to just really deal with the root cause. If there are any things from childhood or anything that happened recently, whatever the case may be, get the help you need. Now, we want to know, how do you incorporate, first of all, tell us really quickly about your business, and I'm going to put that up. How did you, because you told us, but we want our audience to kind of know how you transition. You're not a doctor, but you are a certified nutritionist. And then Chris, you are I'm going to say it to you.
personal trainer, and life and leadership coach.
Yes.
So, well, we started at the beginning of the pandemic. So obviously the pandemic closed down all the gyms. I was left without any income to speak of. So I was already preparing to kind of go off on my own. But the pandemic made a shift because I was originally thinking outdoor exercise, and now we switched to virtual, and we still are virtual. So that's half of what we do. I do virtual training. I also do mobile in-person training with our mobile fitness trailer, which is a full gym.
Now, tell us really quickly about that. Yeah, I know it's a lag, but tell us really quickly. Tell us about the mobile. That was very unique. I like the idea.
Yes, so the mobile, we're able to go to our clients' homes and we can train them one-on-one or a small group setting or corporate settings. And it's really a trailer that's built out with squat racks that, kind of fold out of the sides, pull-up bars, plyo boxes. It's fully equipped with Valor Fitness equipment. And Valor Fitness donated all their equipment to us.
Wow.
Because honestly, we made a connection with them on a spiritual ground. They supported our business and our mission as we, share the gospel in a gym setting. And on a handshake deal, we put Valor Fitness on the back of our trailer, and they donated a full trailer of equipment. So it's fully retrofitted.
Wow.
On my side, during the pandemic, I was working in the hospital, going towards residency, until finally some of my friends passed away. Some of them got really sick. And when I mean friends, I mean my doctor colleagues. One of my close doctor colleagues had passed away, and she was only 29, 30, going into 30. And so I was pregnant. And while working in the hospital and seeing COVID patients, I saw on the news, it was everywhere on the news, and even in the American College of Obstetrics, they said that if you're pregnant, you're high risk for developing a stillborn. So I came up to my supervisor at the time and I said, I would like to see patients, but maybe non-COVID, if that's okay. And they said, basically, you have no choice. You either see COVIDs or you don't work. So I had to make the choice to protect our baby, and I made a career shift, and that's why I went into nutrition. And now I know that medicine is needed at a certain time in life, but nutrition and fitness is the foundation of what God has given us, because our body is able to heal. God made it that way. And if you understand how to eat better and how to move, then you are setting yourself up for success. So that's why we partnered holistic nutrition and fitness together, as well as the spiritual, because we know that we are not successful unless we have the Lord Jesus with us. He is our sustainer.
Yes, I think that's amazing. I mean, I know it was a difficult transition. You go through medical school, you go through all of that. Our daughter right now, she wants to be a doctor. I don't know if we told you that. She's still in undergrad, but she wants to be an orthopedic surgeon. But the time it takes to go through medical school, and then for this huge shift that most of us didn't know was going to happen, but then you pivoted, even in the midst of everything that happened, you pivoted and you're still strong. So again, I commend you for not giving up, both of you, and finding out what was really in you, what you were capable of doing in the most difficult situation possible, right? It affected the entire world, but then going through what you went through with your beautiful baby girl who's saying, I guess it's time to get off mommy and daddy.
Well, no, you need to see
what she did.
Hi, Precious.
Her face is all green. She got into this.
You gotta put some markers away. They do that. They're like, well, let's see what this does. Kids do that. I remember when my daughter was small, she cut her hair off. She had like little braids, and I had taken a quick nap, and she cut it, and I'm like, what happened to your hair? She thought she was one of those dolls that, the grow back. I don't know if you know about those dolls. You could cut their hair, but then they could pull it out. She was testing that theory. But anyway, kids do the darndest things, don't they? Yeah. Well, we definitely want to say that's your website, If you're in the Florida area, we're saying make sure you support them. We are so grateful that you made time in your busy schedule to sit with us on this podcast. I know it's going to help someone, a bunch of somebody's, right? Yes. Because this is a real topic. And then we like the part about victory in that now you have a successful business and it's only going to go even further. Who knows where it'll go, right? But you're working together, right? Yes. In business, and you're using your abilities and your talents to get this business done and to really start to discover who you are. Because we're all about, discovering your true identity, why you were born, and start tapping into that. And the younger you do it is even better. But as long as you're above ground and still breathing, if you don't know who you are, you still have time. So we're grateful. Anything else you want to add before we?
And if I could throw out there. Oh, I just wanted to mention too, we do also serve virtually. So we have clients in 14 states as well. And Mical has, nutrition clients in several states as well. So location doesn't affect us.
Great.
Okay, we can serve anybody anywhere.
And we can catch you. This is your Facebook. How they can catch you on Facebook? Yes. Hi, sweetie. This is for Facebook. So if they want to catch you on Facebook, is that cool that we put that up, right? And they can connect with you on, I guess, Facebook, Meta, whichever way you want to say it. Some people say Meta, some people say Facebook. But yes, so we want to get anything else you want to say before we let them go to their precious one who's telling us, I need to get off what you're doing. And she's like, I need your attention, Mom and Dad.
Yeah. No, it's been a great podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. And so I'm sure that someone out there listening can glean from what was spoken and what was said, and also allow themselves to live again, even if they're experiencing it now, or if they still yet have the battles of that, the spirit of depression, because it can be defeated.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So make sure those that are watching, this is their website. Okay. And if you want to connect with them on Facebook or Meta, this is one way. But I think if you just go to their website, correct, you'll be able to get in contact with you either way, because you'll have some contact information on the website.
Yes. Absolutely. It'll be on the website.
All right. Well, if there's anything else you want to add, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Mariah, 1 Thessalonians. Go ahead.
5:17. Never. Come on.
She doesn't want to say it today.
She usually memorizes 1 Thessalonians 5:17.
Never stop praying.
Never stop praying. Can you tell everybody God bless you?
God bless you too.
God bless you too, sweetie. Well, you three have a great evening. Let's stay in touch, okay?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night.
God bless, guys.
Okay. Bye-bye. So make sure if you want to get in contact again with them, that you make sure you go to their website. Here it is. And, give them a thumbs up or like, even on Facebook, so that they know that you understand, those of you who understand the situation, their story, and you can relate. Maybe there's something you can glean and use, and thank them for that, sharing that information. Okay. So as we wrap this up, what do we want to say, babe? We want to say, make sure you what? Comment, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and any other platform. We're pretty much everywhere as far as social media platforms. So make sure you go and check us out on YouTube, Marriage Enrichment, The Bakers. We're on Twitter. We're on TikTok. I call it TikTok. We're on IG. We're even on Pinterest. So check us out. Now, one of the things we want to talk about, because again, as a couple, we assist engaged and married couples with what they need. Make sure you go to our website, enrichmymarriage.com. You can find out more things about. We do individual one-on-ones, and we have something coming up. Let me pull it up there. So this is our cohort where we have a 6-week marriage course, Recipe for Success. And so let me make sure I give you the right website address. And that's coming up. We're only going to be doing it like twice a year. So we have something coming up real soon. So make sure you go to marriagecourserecipeforsuccess.com. It's only going to be a certain number of couples that are allowed into it. And so it's an online course, but it's also, you'll have opportunity to talk with us and get information that we've learned from our own marriage and from counseling with others, not their specific information, of course, but things that we had to provide to couples. So again, marriage course, Recipe for Success. Make sure you check that out. We also have something else we want to talk about. We provide services such as, what is it called, baby? It's called Tablescape Rendezvous for Two. And this is a pic of what it is. So basically, it's an opportunity for us to service you, pop up a different theme. You see the different things. You have beach, you have red romance, you have different things. We can pop it up on your back deck, in your backyard, in a park, but preferably on your back deck, backyard. If you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, we can assist you. So this is one of the services that we offer because we think you need that 2 hours. Is a good 2 hours just to connect and to be in tune with your spouse. Okay. So make sure you take time to go to that website and check it out. Okay. So with that being said, we want to first say thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Yes. Thank you.
We thought it was very informative. The couple again, Mical and Chris, make sure you go to their information. You can rewind and check that out. And again, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to our channels. Anywhere you see us, make sure you say, hey, give us a comment, say, I like that. Or if you even have some ideas about a type of topic that we haven't discussed yet, we'll do our best to accommodate you by either inviting some other guests, or we may be able to talk about ourselves depending on what it is. So with that being said, baby, anything else you want to add as we end this podcast?
No, I don't have anything to add, but it's been a great evening, and connect with us and stay tuned. We do have some other podcasts that's coming up.
Coming down, so
we're excited about these podcasts and excited about connecting with other communities as well and sharing their story and sharing their lives. And so that's what we're about, and that's what these podcasts are about, basically for truth for daily living and being able to glean from it. And I hope you're able to glean from it, learn from it, and also put in whatever you learn, put it to work. See if it works for you. See if you can, level up in other areas.
All right. So we're going to release you now. Whenever you see this, again, what do we want you to do? Comment, like, and subscribe. Give us those comments and those likes. And we'll be talking to you soon. And it's the Bakers. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Daryl.
And we're known as Team Baker. Have a great time, whether it's in the morning, evening, or afternoon when you see this. Yes. Have a great day. All right. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.